All right, so ready to shake things up with some seriously life-changing habits?
Let's do it.
We're going deep today into an episode from Real Life English, all about 15 habits to boost your personal growth.
And the cool thing is, this isn't about those crazy overnight makeovers that just leave you burnt out.
Right.
It's about small changes you can actually stick with, the kind that really make a difference in the long run.
Love that. Sustainable growth all the way. I think so many of us get trapped in those big New Year's resolutions that just sort of fade away.
Yeah, totally.
So let's break down these habits one by one and see what we can actually use in our own lives.
Sounds good.
First up, wake up early. I've heard this one a lot, but I want to go beyond that early bird thing,
Yeah.
What's the real reason why this habit seems to be linked to success?
It's like this. We actually have a biological advantage in the morning.
Oh, really?
Cortisol, our alert hormone, it naturally peaks early in the day.
Huh, interesting.
So when you wake up early, you're basically working with your body's natural rhythm. You're set up for better focus and you get more done.
So it's not just about being part of some 5 a.m. club.
Right.
It's about aligning our schedules with our biology.
Exactly.
I can see why it's so appealing to have quiet time to yourself before everything gets going,
Sure.
Whether it's exercise or reading or just enjoying a cup of coffee in peace.
It's those precious moments before the day's demands take over.
Yeah, exactly.
And studies show that early risers tend to be more proactive. Not just because they have more time, but because their minds are ready for action right from the start.
Okay, so I'm convinced about the benefits, but let's be real.
Yeah.
Not everyone is wired to jump out of bed at the crack of dawn.
Of course.
Any advice for those of us who might hit snooze a few times?
Maybe more than a few times.
Maybe.
The key is to make changes gradually. Don't shock your system. Just try moving your wake-up time by 15 minutes each week.
Yeah.
Small adjustment that your body can get used to.
Okay, so baby steps.
Exactly. You might be surprised how much of a difference even 15 minutes can make.
I love that. Small changes, big results.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to a habit that I think a lot of us have heard about, but maybe haven't fully understood. Practice gratitude. This is really more than just a nice idea.
It really is.
What's the science behind how gratitude actually affects our well-being?
Gratitude is really about changing your mindset, and there's some really cool research behind it.
Yeah.
When you focus on what you have instead of what you're missing, you're basically rewiring your brain. You start noticing and appreciating the good things in your life.
So it's not just about feeling happy, it's about actually training our brains to see the positive.
Exactly. And studies have shown that practicing gratitude can lead to more happiness, less stress, and even better physical health.
Wow, so it's like choosing to see the glass half full even when things are tough.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this simple habit can have a big impact on so many parts of our lives. But how do we actually make gratitude part of our daily routine? I know some people keep gratitude journals. Is that the only way?
A gratitude journal is a fantastic tool.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be complicated at all. Just take a few minutes every morning to write down 3 things you're grateful for, big or small.
Like what kinds of things?
It could be anything. Your health, your loved ones, a delicious cup of coffee or a beautiful sunrise, anything that brings a smile to your face.
I can see how that could become a really positive way to start the day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about a habit that often gets overlooked. Stay hydrated.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
We all know we should drink more water, but I think most of us forget about it until we're already feeling thirsty.
Happens to the best of us.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
How much water do we really need, and what happens when we're dehydrated?
It's surprising how many people are mildly dehydrated without even realizing it.
Really?
And it affects everything, your energy levels, your focus, even your mood and digestion.
Wow, I didn't realize dehydration could be so sneaky.
It really can.
So what's the magic number when it comes to water intake? Is it really 8 glasses a day, or is that a myth?
8 glasses a day is a decent starting point.
Okay.
But everyone's different.
Right.
Your activity level, the climate where you live, even your overall health all play a role.
Yeah.
The key is to listen to your body and make sure you're sipping water throughout the day.
So it's not about chugging a gallon of water all at once.
Definitely not.
It's about making hydration a regular habit. Any tips for making that easier? Because I often forget to drink water until I'm already thirsty.
Which means you're probably already a bit dehydrated.
Probably, yeah.
Here's a simple trick. Start your day with a glass of water before you do anything else.
Okay.
It helps you rehydrate after sleeping home, kickstarts your metabolism, and sets a good tone for the day.
I like that.
You can also keep a water bottle with you all the time and set reminders on your phone.
Reminders, those are helpful. Okay, so those are some great practical tips. It's amazing how small changes can make such a big difference. All right, let's move on to a habit that I think a lot of us struggle with, especially with our busy lives. Move your body daily.
Yeah, definitely.
We know exercise is good for our physical health, but I'm curious about the mental benefits. How does movement affect our minds and our overall well-being?
It's not just about burning calories or building muscles.
Right.
When we move our bodies, we're boosting our mood, reducing stress, and even improving our brain function.
Interesting.
Exercise has been shown to increase endorphins.
Endorphins, those feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. Those feel-good chemicals lead to a sense of well-being, and they help reduce anxiety.
So it's like a natural mood booster.
Exactly.
I always feel more energized and clear-headed after a good workout. But finding the time and motivation to exercise can be a real challenge.
For sure.
Any advice for incorporating movement into our busy schedules?
Yeah, especially for those of us who aren't exactly gym rats.
Sweet.
The secret is to find an activity you actually enjoy. It doesn't have to be intense or take a lot of time. It could be a walk in nature, a dance class, a bike ride with friends, or even some stretching or yoga at home.
So it's about finding what works for you and making it a part of your routine.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, let's talk about a habit that I'm really passionate about. Read every day. I truly believe in the power of books to open our minds and take us to different worlds.
Me too.
But I know some people might feel intimidated by the idea of reading every day.
Yeah, I get that.
What advice would you give to those who want to develop this habit but maybe don't know where to start?
Reading is like a superpower for your mind.
I love that.
It exposes you to new ideas, new perspectives, and information you'd never encounter otherwise. It broadens your horizons and makes you a more well-rounded person. And it doesn't have to be a chore. Start with a genre you enjoy, whether it's fiction, nonfiction biographies, or even just magazines or online articles.
Yes, finding what sparks your interest is key. But realistically, not everyone has hours to dedicate to reading every day.
Right.
Any tips for fitting it into a busy schedule?
Even just 10 or 15 minutes a day can make a difference. Read during your commute before bed, or even during your lunch break. Audiobooks are also fantastic for people who prefer listening.
Okay, those are great ideas. It's about those consistent little steps that add up over time.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to a habit that can really transform our productivity. Plan your day.
Oh yeah, planning is crucial.
I know, I've felt that feeling of being totally overwhelmed when I'm just reacting to whatever comes my way without a clear plan. So how can we plan effectively without getting bogged down in too many details?
Imagine going on a road trip without a map.
Uh-oh.
You might eventually get where you're going, but it's going to be a lot more stressful and you'll probably waste a lot of time.
That's a great analogy.
Planning your day is like having that roadmap guiding you towards your goals and helping you stay focused and productive.
So how do we create that roadmap without getting lost in the details?
Focus on your top priorities for the day. Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick 3 to 5 tasks that are most important and make sure you have time for them in your schedule.
Okay, so we've figured out our priorities, but how do we actually stay on track throughout the day?
Right.
Are there tools or techniques that can help us avoid distractions and stay focused?
Tons of great tools out there.
Like what?
Some people love traditional to-do lists, while others prefer digital task managers or apps. Find what works for you and what keeps you accountable. You could also try time blocking.
Time blocking?
Where you assign specific blocks of time for different tasks.
Ah, okay, I've heard good things about that. Seems like a good way to stay structured and avoid getting sidetracked.
Definitely.
Okay, let's talk about a habit that's become so important in our digital world. Limit social media. I think we all know that feeling of getting sucked into the endless scroll and losing track of time.
Oh yeah, the scroll hole.
So how do we break free from that and take back control of our time and attention?
Social media can be great for connecting with people and staying informed.
It can.
But it can also be a huge time waster and a major distraction if we're not careful. The key is to be mindful of how much we're using it and set some healthy boundaries.
I think that's key for so many things in life,
Yeah.
finding that balance.
Absolutely.
But setting those boundaries can be tough when our phones are constantly buzzing with notifications, tempting us to check in all the time. Any practical tips for limiting our social media time without feeling like we're totally disconnecting?
A few things you can try. One is to set specific times for checking social media instead of letting it creep into every part of your day.
Okay.
You can also turn off notifications or use those app timers that limit your usage.
Oh, yeah. Those are helpful.
Or even designate certain days or times as social media free zones.
I love it's about taking back control instead of letting those apps control us.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to another habit that's so crucial for our well-being. Surround yourself with positive people.
So important.
I really believe that the people we spend time with have a huge influence on our thoughts, feelings, and even our actions. So how do we create a positive and supportive environment that lifts us up and encourages us to grow?
Our environment has a huge impact on us, period. If you're constantly around negativity, criticism, or drama, it's going to drain you. It makes it so much harder to stay positive and motivated.
Yeah, I can see that.
But when you're surrounded by supportive, encouraging, and inspiring people, it's like having your own personal cheerleading squad.
Right. Cheering us on to succeed.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Truth. So it's crucial to be mindful of who we hang out with and make sure we're spending time with people who bring out the best in us.
Okay, so how do we actually go about cultivating those positive relationships? Are there specific things we can do to attract and nurture those connections?
It starts with being intentional about who we spend our time with.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, who are the people who make me feel energized, inspired, and supported? Make an effort to connect with those people, whether it's through regular phone calls, coffee dates, or doing activities together. And don't be afraid to distance yourself from relationships that are constantly draining or negative.
That's such great advice. It's about being proactive in creating the kind of social circle that supports our growth and well-being.
Exactly.
All right, as we start to wrap up this first part of our deep dive, let's talk about a habit that's all about creating a peaceful transition to sleep. Develop a night routine. I think a lot of us struggle to wind down after a long day.
Especially with all the technology we're surrounded by.
Exactly. So how can we create a nighttime ritual that helps us relax and sets us up for a good night's sleep?
Our bodies and minds crave routine. A consistent nighttime routine tells your body it's time to start winding down and getting ready for sleep. Instead of scrolling through social media or watching TV right before bed, try dimming the lights, taking a warm bath, reading a book, or doing some gentle stretches.
This sounds so relaxing. I can already feel my shoulders unclenching just thinking about it.
That's right.
I've also heard a lot about the negative effects of blue light from screens on our sleep. Is that something we should be concerned about?
Absolutely. Blue light from our phones, computers, and TVs messes with our natural sleep-wake cycle.
No, really?
It suppresses melatonin, the hormone that regulates our sleep.
So it's best to avoid screens for at least an hour or two before bed.
Ideally, yes.
Okay, so it's not just about what we do in our evening routine, it's also about what we avoid.
Right.
And speaking of sleep, how much do we actually need to function at our best?
Most adults need between 7 and 9 hours of good quality sleep every night.
Okay.
This gives our bodies and minds time to fully recharge, and it affects everything from our energy levels and focus to our mood and immune system.
Well, that's a good reminder for me to make sleep a priority. I've definitely felt the negative effects of not getting enough sleep. Okay, let's take a break here. We've covered the first 9 habits, and in part 2, we'll delve into the remaining 6, exploring how to set clear goals, manage stress, invest in ourselves, and more.
Looking forward to it. All right, so ready to dive back into those life-changing habits.
Let's do it. We've already covered so much, from waking up early to the power of saying no.
It's amazing how these small tweaks can really add up, right?
They really do. But I bet some people are feeling a little overwhelmed with all this info.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a lot to take in, but that's why we broke it down like this.
Yeah.
Digestible chunks.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So you can really grasp the main ideas and see how they all fit together.
It's not about mastering all 15 habits overnight, right?
Exactly.
It's about finding what works for you and incorporating things gradually.
It's a journey, not a race.
Yeah.
Think of it as an ongoing experiment.
I like that. An experiment. We're always learning and adapting.
Exactly. Finding what works best for you.
Okay, so for those who are itching to start putting these habits into practice, where would you suggest they begin?
I'd say take a moment to think about the habits we've talked about.
Okay.
Which one really speaks to you right now? Which one feels like it could help you overcome challenge or unlock some new growth? Once you've found that habit, start small. Don't try to change everything at once.
Baby steps.
Exactly. Focus on making one small change and build from there.
Those small, consistent actions over time really do lead to big changes.
They
Right?
really do. It's like building a muscle you wouldn't expect to bench press a ton of weight on your first day at the gym.
Definitely not.
You start small and gradually increase the weight as you get stronger.
Perfect analogy.
And consistency is key for both physical fitness and personal growth. Those small daily efforts, they compound over time, and you end up with remarkable results.
So as we move into the next set of habits, is there one that's been particularly impactful for you personally?
That's a good question. They're all interconnected in a way, but for me, the combo of setting clear goals and practicing gratitude has been really powerful.
Interesting.
Having a clear vision of where I want to go, combined with appreciating what I already have, it creates a strong sense of purpose and contentment. Like having a compass that guides you forward while also reminding you to enjoy the journey.
I love that. Striving for growth, but also finding joy in the present moment.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's jump into those remaining 6 habits. Starting with set clear goals. I think a lot of us fall into the trap of making vague resolutions that fizzle out before we even get started.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's the secret to setting goals that actually stick and motivate us to move forward?
The key is to move beyond those vague wishes and create goals that are super specific. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So there's a framework for this.
There is. Think of it like using a compass instead of just wandering around aimlessly. A clear goal gives you direction and keeps you focused on what really matters.
Okay, so it's not enough to say, I want to be healthier. We need to define what that actually looks like.
Right.
Do we want to lose a specific amount of weight? Run a marathon? Eat more veggies?
Exactly. The more specific you are, the easier it is to create a plan and track your progress. Instead of, I want to learn a new language, you say, I want to learn Spanish, and I'll dedicate 5 hours a week to studying, and by this date, I want to be able to hold a basic conversation.
So it's about having a clear roadmap, not just a destination.
Precisely.
That makes sense. But even with a well-defined goal, staying motivated can be tough. Any advice for staying on track and pushing through those moments of doubt?
Break your goals down into smaller steps. It can make all the difference.
Okay.
Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of the goal, just focus on those daily or weekly milestones that'll get you there.
Yeah.
And don't forget to celebrate those small wins along the way. It's incredibly motivating to see how far you've come. It keeps you going.
I love that. Small steps lead to big transformations. Okay, let's move on to a habit that I've personally struggled with. Meditate or practice mindfulness. I think a lot of us picture meditation as sitting in silence trying to empty our minds, which can feel intimidating and honestly impossible for many people.
Yeah, it can seem that way.
What would you say to those of us who feel like we're just bad at meditation?
That's a super common misconception. Mindfulness isn't about reaching some Zen state or silencing your thoughts altogether. It's more about cultivating awareness, being present in each moment without judging yourself.
So it's not about stopping our thoughts, but more about observing them without getting carried away.
You got it.
That sounds a lot more doable.
And you don't need to sit in silence for hours to benefit. Even 5 minutes of focused breathing or a guided meditation can make a huge difference. It reduces stress, improves focus, even helps regulate emotions.
Okay, so we can fit mindfulness into our lives without a huge overhaul. Are there specific techniques or resources you recommend for beginners?
Tons. There are apps like Headspace or Calm that have guided meditations for all levels. There are books, online resources, you name it. You can even start super simple, just paying attention to your breath for a few minutes each day.
I love that. Finding what works for you and making it a part of your routine.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to a habit that can be tough for a lot of people, including me. Learn to say no. I'm a total people pleaser, and I often find myself saying yes to things, even when I'm already stretched too thin.
I get it. It's easy to fall into that trap.
What happens when we're constantly saying yes? And how do we set healthy boundaries without feeling guilty or selfish?
Saying yes to everything can lead to burnout, resentment, even damaged relationships. Your time and energy are precious. It's okay to prioritize your own needs.
Okay.
Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you a good manager of your own life.
That's a great point. Respecting our own time as much as we respect others' time. But actually saying no can be so awkward and uncomfortable, especially when we're worried about disappointing someone.
Right.
Any tips for handling those tricky situations?
Practice clear and concise communication.
Okay.
Something like, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I'm not able to take that on right now.
Straightforward.
Exactly. Avoid over-explaining or making excuses. It just weakens your message. And remember, it's okay to take some time to think about a request before you respond. You can always say, let me think about it and get back to you.
Those are great tips. Assertive, but kind and respectful.
That's the key.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about a habit that's all about inviting in our future. Invest in yourself.
Love this one.
It's easy to put our own needs on the back burner, right?
So easy.
So why is it so important to prioritize personal growth, and what are some practical ways to invest in ourselves?
Think of personal growth as a journey of self-discovery and improvement.
Okay.
It's about nurturing your mind, body, and spirit, expanding your knowledge and skills, becoming the best version of you. And the benefits are endless. It boosts your confidence, creates new opportunities, and makes you feel better overall.
So it's not just about learning new things, it's about investing in our own happiness and fulfillment.
Exactly.
I love that. But how do we make it a priority with all the demands in our lives?
Start by figuring out where you want to grow. Is it learning a new language, taking a course, reading books that expand your horizons, or even spending time in nature to nourish your soul?
I love those suggestions. It's about making conscious choices to prioritize our own growth. Okay, let's move on to a habit that's about creating a more peaceful and productive environment. Declutter regularly. I feel so much calmer and focused when my physical space is tidy.
Me too.
How does clutter affect our mental state, and how can we create a clutter-free environment?
Our physical environment directly affects our mental state. Clutter can make you feel chaotic, overwhelmed, even anxious. It can also distract you and make it hard to focus.
Oh, I've totally been there. When my desk is piled with papers, my mind feels just as cluttered.
It's amazing how much our physical space affects our mental clarity. And the good news is decluttering can feel incredibly liberating. Start small, pick one area of your home or office to tackle each week. Go through your stuff and ask, do I really need this? Do I use it? Does it bring me joy? If not, donate it, sell it, or just toss it.
I love that. It's not about being perfect, but making a consistent effort to create a more peaceful space. And we can declutter our digital lives too, right?
Absolutely. Digital spaces can get just as cluttered as physical ones.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe from emails you don't read, organize your computer files, delete apps you don't use, set limits on social media.
It's like a digital detox. I think we underestimate how much that digital clutter affects us.
We definitely do.
Okay, let's move on to the final habit. Practice self-care.
Yeah, this one's often misunderstood.
It is.
People dismiss it as selfish or indulgent.
Right.
So why is self-care important? And how can we make it a part of our lives in a way that feels genuine and sustainable? So we're back for the final stretch of our deep dive into those 15 life-changing habits.
It's been quite a journey. From early mornings to embracing the power of no, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. And I imagine some folks might be feeling a bit overwhelmed with all this information.
It's a lot to digest, but that's why we structured it this way, right?
Exactly. Bite-sized pieces so you can really grasp the core concepts and see how it all connects.
It's not about becoming a master of all 15 habits overnight, is it?
Definitely not.
It's about finding what resonates with you and incorporating things gradually.
It's a journey, not a sprint. Think of it as an experiment, really.
I like that. An experiment. So we're always learning and adjusting.
Exactly. Finding what works best for you.
Okay, so for our listeners who are ready to put these habits into practice, where's a good place to start?
Take some time to think about what we've talked about.
Okay.
Which habit really speaks to you right now? Which one feels like it could help you with a challenge or maybe unlock some new growth?
Okay.
Once you've found that habit, start small. Don't try to change everything at once.
Baby steps, right?
Baby steps. Focus on making one small change and then build from there.
Because it's those small, consistent actions that lead to lasting change.
Absolutely.
It's like building a muscle. We wouldn't expect to lift a ton of weight on day one at the gym.
No.
You start with something manageable and gradually increase it as you get stronger.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
And just like with physical fitness, consistency is key.
Makes sense.
Those small daily efforts really add up over time. You end up with amazing results.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there one habit that's been especially impactful for you personally?
That's a tough one. All of these habits work together to create a more fulfilling life. But the combination of setting clear goals and practicing gratitude has been really transformative for me.
How so?
Having a clear vision for the future and appreciating what I have in the present that creates a sense of purpose and contentment. It's like having a compass guiding me forward while also reminding me to enjoy the journey.
I love that. striving for growth, but also finding joy in the now.
Exactly.
And that's really the essence of this entire deep dive, isn't it? It's not about reaching some kind of perfection, but about embracing the journey of personal growth with all the ups and downs, the challenges and triumphs.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong adventure.
It is.
And the real beauty is in the constant learning and growth that come along with it.
Well said. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and practical tools to kickstart your own personal growth journey. Remember, it all starts with that first step.
It does.
Choose one habit, start small, be consistent, and watch how those ripples spread out and transform your life.
And as you move forward, be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and see those challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
We'll be here cheering you on.